Hello, welcome back to Claudia Henderson Creations, and today we're gonna check out another of those really awesome card making boxes. So if you have our annual catalog, so the Stampin' Up catalog that is good May till April of next year, and you start at page 5, you see all these cute little boxes, and there's a little bit information about what is in these boxes. And here you see a couple of samples, but naturally these are older sets. So if you scan this code, or I will show you quick on my iPad in a second, you can just go to my website and look up all the existing kits that are available and the ones that are new. Okay, so if you are online and you go to ClaudiaHenderson.stampinup.net, you will see my picture up here, and this is my website. And then you just log in, and that happens when you hit Shop Now. And when you're logged in, you can actually you see my name, whom you're shopping with, and then you can just click on kits here, number 1, and it will bring up all these kit collections, and you see everything that's available. So here's the Garden of Thanks kit that we're doing right now. The Circle Celebration is new. The Expressions of Kindness we did last week, and this is currently unavailable, but it will be back in stock, so you just have to keep checking on it. City Sites, Hello. So you see all the different kits that are available. Most of them are card kits. Some also do other things. So this is one for the kids. Here you have some home decor. We have a really awesome travel journaling. So you just scroll down and look through all the different kits, what cards they make, and actually when you click on them, you will see way more. So here's another page with those. So just make sure you either go on kits right up here when you're in logged in, or you click on shop products, and then you just go down to kits collection and then shop all kits, and it will bring up the same different kit sets. So I hope that helps. So let's go back to yes, and I have a new kit right here, but before we look into this, let me show you 2 cards we made last week from a new kit called Expression of Kindness, and I will link the video and the kit down below, so if you haven't seen it, you can look at it and check it out. Otherwise, today we're gonna look into the Garden of Thanks kit, and same procedure with all the kits. It comes fully instructed. It has a description on the back, what is all included in this set, and you can just go right out of the box and put your cards together. So there are 3 different designs this time, and we will look into them individually in a moment. Here's a stamp set that comes with the kit, and this is cute. So it's got like a little bunch of flowers and a couple of phrases on here, and I hope that Stampin' Up continues to make these little cheat sheets the other way around, so you actually see what the stamped image will look like. Then we have a little ink spot, and this one is called Misty Moonlight. We also have some twine that is the same color as the ink pad, and it matches naturally the cards that we're gonna make. Some sequins that have adhesive already on the back. We have some dimensionals, and these are the mini ones for all the cards we're gonna make. Some glue dots, and then naturally a block for the stamping. So everything included. Like I said, all you need is some scissors. Here are the envelopes, and all the envelopes this time have gold foiled flap, so they're otherwise white, and we're using the same envelopes for all 3 different designs. So there are 9 total in here, which means I need 3 because we have 3 different cards. So let me pull those out, and then we will continue with the bases. So here's a nice blue one with a foiled background, really pretty. We have, let me put these 2 away, then we have this white one which has gold foil. Actually the blue one is just stamped, but this one has gold foil on it. And then we also have these very pretty flowers, and they have some gold foiling on the leaves and on the flowers themselves, so really pretty. They're all pre-scored, so easy for you to fold together. And let me put this box aside. Oh no, let's check out our goodies first, right? We need some goodies to put on the card. So let me get my instruction sheet here so we know what parts we need from the goodies to use on the cards. So let's start with the flower one. And this one calls for this purple little flag or strip. And then it also calls for a thank you. So you have a sheet with 3 different thank yous on there. So there are 3 different languages. Thank you in English, merci for French, and then we have lieben Dank for German. So I can use the lieben Dank for my cards that go to Germany, which is actually kind of cute. But for America here, we will be able to use the thank you, but you could also use the merci, because merci everybody understands too. Or you just use all 3 on one card and, you know, just different languages. I mean, that's kind of cute too, depending on which card you're making. So I would hang on to them and just use them in other cards as well if needed. And I think that's all for that one. So for the blue one, we need a big flower. And this is also on this sheet here. So you have 3 of these sheets with the punch outs here. And so we have this beautiful big flower, which also has some gold foiling on them. And then I just gonna take this one out here because I know this is gonna be used for the last card. So we might as well take it out. And then we also need for the last card, we're gonna make 2 of these delicate flowers here. So one purple, one green, and you just have to carefully pull them out. Here is a circle for the last card, and then I think we need one of these for the blue one as well. So there's one extra in here in case your stamping doesn't go well. You can reuse it, or you just use it for a different project. But these are all the pieces we need for the cards to make. So let me put this a little bit aside and grab our pieces. I would like to keep this little ink spot intact and maybe give it as a gift. So I substitute with our Close to My Heart color, which is called Bluebell. And they're very similar. So I looked at them stamped and they're super close. So if you happen to have our Close to My Heart color, Bluebell would be the one you want to grab. And for those that have Stampin'Up colors, if you don't want to use that little ink pad, it is called Misty Moonlight. Okay, so let's start with the first card. And again, they're pre-scored. Very pretty. So you have your front and back decorated, which I really love. The front one has a little bit more white on the right side. So when you look at the back of the card, you can see that the flowers go all the way to the edge. So you can use either side. I picked the one that has a little bit white on the right there, but it's up to you. There's no right or wrong way. Okay, then we need our little pink strip. And if you happen to have those little knobs there from punching them out of the carrier sheet, if they bother you or they're too big, I like to use just a plain nail file and go over the edges and file them down. That way they're, gone. Or you see them white. Sometimes they shine, stick out a little bit. You can use your scissors too, but I just love to use my file, and then that takes care of it. All right, so this one needs, according to the instruction sheet, some glue dots. So this one is actually put directly on the card front. If you would like to raise it, you can raise it as well. But in this case, they put this one flat to the card and then raise the thank you. So you can do it in reverse if you want to. Put the thank you on the little purple piece and then, or pink piece, and then put foam adhesive on that one. So I'm going by the instructions. So my little pink piece has the glue dots on the back, and now I'm putting some foam on dimensionals on the thank you. And if they ever happen to stick out a little bit too far, just use your scissors and cut them down, or cut the dimensional down if needed. If it's getting too, you know, big for a project, you can always cut them. So this goes about 1.75 inches from the bottom up. So you see that inside of that flower right there on the side. And then I'm gonna take the little thank you and place it on here. And I'm really sorry if you hear the thunder in the background. We're just having a thunderstorm going through here. So that's pretty much all for this card. It already looks very pretty. Now we just put on a couple of those sequences, and you can just pick them with your fingers. You don't need a tool for those. They have adhesive on the back, so you can take them off and put them right onto your card. And this card is done. So I will stamp at the end the inside of one card to show you what I decided to do, but for now we just leave them that way, and they will be all three stamped the same way on the inside. All right, let's go to card number 2. So this is the blue one, and for that one we need our little flower stamp and our acrylic block. And when I take my stamp off the carrier sheet, I always like to roll them off. Don't pull on them, because if it's a very delicate stamp, you risk of pulling it apart, ripping it. I mean, you usually can put them back together, but just kind of like do the moonwalk, you know, roll them down off the sheet. And then we used to season them. So close to my heart stamps, and I think Stampin' Up might be the same way. So sometimes there's residue from the manufacturing process on them. So I just rub them on my skin a little bit. You can use a chamois to clean them, or a little bit spray, and just to get the oils and stuff off there. And then I always use a sheet of scrap paper and some ink to get a test going. And this is not the right one, so let me grab a different piece here. And when you see me going over the ink pad with the stamp like back and forth a few times, this is because our close to my heart stamps have a more like a felt surface, so we always had to walk the stamp back and forth to get a nice even inking on them. So they're a little bit harder when you push on them. If you have a Stampin' Up ink pad, you might just notice that they're way spongier. They have a lot of ink in them, so they're very juicy. So you only have to lightly tap them, really like once or twice, and you should have plenty of ink on your stamp to stamp. So make sure when you're stamping, depending on what ink pad you're using, to be a little bit more careful when you have the Stampin' Up ones. And if you use the little ink spot, they're spongy too, but they're so tiny, so you just go over the image a few times back and forth to cover it. Okay, so now we are inking it up, and for this new card, it shows in the instruction that there are 2 stamped images in the upper left corner and in the lower right corner. So we're gonna just place them about here, one, so you just go down for a couple seconds, straight back up, and it's a perfect image. And then we go over and do this on the other corner as well. So we're just gonna put down, hold it for a couple seconds, and then lift it back up, and that's looking pretty good. The ink will dry very quickly, so we're good to go with our flower. And for this one we need the big flower, and this one, actually, it doesn't really matter how you put it on, so you can move it a little bit depending on where your stamps are, your stamped images are, but I would like mine maybe here, and then we raise them with some foam dimensionals. So you got a whole sheet of dimensionals, just grab a few and place them on the back of this flower so it's nice sturdy. And then we take the backing off, and then we just pick it up and center it on our card front. And like I said, depending on where you stamped, how far in the corners you went, you know, you pick which direction you want to go. Then we have this little small piece, and that's where the next phrase will be stamped on. And again, I have to peel it off the carrier sheet, and I just kind of carefully roll it off. And I will be using the same block, and I'm lazy, so I just leave my flower bouquet on there, and put the stamp with the wording somewhere on the edge so I can see it, but I don't have to remove my flower bunch because I still have to work with this later. So I'm just gonna put it on the edge, and then to make sure it works great, I went over with my fingers a little bit. I will ink it up. So for those who have never stamped with clear stamps or have a hard time, if you look through your block and your stamp is on the back side of that block and you can read it, you know that you have it in the right position. So I'm gonna ink it up again with the Bluebell ink a little bit, and then I will use one of my scrap papers and just stamp it off a few times to make sure I get a good impression. And for you, since the block is pretty big and the stamp is very small, you might even want to position it in the middle, just depending on how comfortable you are with stamping. And to make sure that you know how the ink reacts and how the stamp and everything works, just use a scrap piece and keep stamping over and over again until you have a good feeling. You can also flip that little piece around and stamp on the back side first before you commit and go for it on the front. That way, if it doesn't turn out, you just put your adhesive on there and put it on the card. Nobody will know. So here we go. This is the front. This is the final stamping attempt. And just hold it a couple seconds, then go straight back up, and here you have it. So perfectly came out all good. And now we just have to adhere to the card. So in the sample, they put it directly on the flower, but I figured, you know what, we can move it around. We can put it anywhere we want. And while it looks nice there directly on the flower, I like mine to be a little bit offset, hanging over the edge, so you see more of that flower bouquet. So I'm gonna put mine on the side here, and to make this work, I need to put a few of the dimensionals right behind here, because the whole piece in the center is raised with dimensionals, and so that my edge is not hanging in midair, I put like 2 of these little dimensions on there, and then put at the end on the left side just a little glue dot, because this is fixed to the flower bouquet itself. So that way it's nice and sturdy there, it doesn't bend, and it stays in position. So let's put a little glue dot on there, remove the backing of each of them, and then we can place it on the card, and we can find the right spot. And like I said, if you want it directly on the flower, you just use a couple of the glue dots. You don't need the dimensionals, but if yours is hanging over, the part that hangs over should be supported by a dimensional. Okay, and then we just place it right here, make sure it's straight or somewhat straight, and then this one is pretty much done. Okay, it's a little crooked. Here we go. So here we have it. So that one is done. Now all it needs is a few blinks, and again they put the blinks, the little sequences, directly on the flowers. I put mine on the side here on the card, but you can put them wherever you want. There's no right or wrong way. I just put them around the little phrase here, and I call this card done. So there you have it. That is card number 2 of this set. And let's hop over to card number 3. And this one uses the, and before I go there, you can see also in the instruction sheet if your card will be a horizontal card or a vertical card, and it shows you exactly in the instructions. So this one is a vertical, so again we just fold it at the crease there, and then pick a side that we use for the front. And the next thing we do is do a little bit more stamping. So there's a thank you stamp that goes in that little round circle, and I'm gonna keep my little bunch of flowers still on that block. And here we go, I just pull these off. Same procedure, you put it on your block, so if you look through you can clearly see and read the text that's on there. And then I use a scrap paper and stamp it up a few times to make sure it stamps correctly. And then you stamp as many times as you want until you have the feeling, you know how much pressure you need, how much ink you need. And you know, especially when it's on a corner. If you're new to stamping, I always like, because that's a pretty big block, to put it in the center. That way you get a little bit better control of getting it straight and flat on the surface. So, but it's up to you. Just test it, try it, and it's just a piece of paper that you're stamping on. So let's get the little round circle and stamp our thank you right in the middle. A little bit more ink, and we should be good to go. Going straight down, holding it for a couple seconds, and then pulling it back up. And here we have it. So this one's done. And now we just have to remove that stamp, put it back on the carrier sheet, and we will continue with our last card. So the base is done. Now here we have our flowers, and just looking at those two delicate ones and this nice flower bunch. So the delicate ones go behind this flower. And when you pull them off the carrier sheet, just make sure you be a little bit careful, because they're very thin, so you don't rip them apart. But in case you do, it's not a big deal. You can always just piece them together behind the main flower and be done with it. What I do like is I do like these branches here in the back to fill in and make the flower bouquet a little bit bigger. So what I actually do is I deviate a little bit off the instructions. And you don't have to do this step, but I thought I just, you know, change it up just a tiny little bit. So I will stamp this flower bouquet on the card front in the same blue ink. And to make sure that we got it in the right spot, I just gonna put the flower bouquet on the card where it normally goes. And then I will take my stamp and just hold it over the spot where I like those flowers to peek out. And then I just gonna move the bottom one and stamp it down and stamp back up, and there you go. So when you put your flowers back on, see how nice this just peeks out there. And I'm gonna do one more here to the side, because I think this will just give it a little bit extra. Whoops, gotta hold on to the card base and just move the flower. So let's move the flower out of the way, and on we go. And I think this looks pretty. And now we can start with our little embellishments. So this one goes right here in the center, and then we have, starting with the green leaves. So those green leaves, I put 2 glue dots on there to position them behind this flower bouquet there in the center, and that's what the instructions calls for. Now if you have a hard time doing that, what you could do is you just adhere these delicate ones to your card. You know, you lay it down like where you want them, lay it down, and then adhere them with glue dots directly to the card. And at the end, just take your center flower, this big bunch, put some dimensionals underneath, and then put them on top. In this case, we're gonna adhere them to the center flower bouquet. And as you can see, that pink one just peeks out a little bit, so the majority is covered up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually just take my scissors and snip it towards the bottom there. There's a nice spot, so I have like 2 pieces, and I will tuck this one behind here on the side so it peeks out a little bit more. And then what we just cut off, this little piece, I will actually take and just stick it behind on the top. But let's adhere this first. So again, I'm using a couple of glue dots, if I can find them in my stash here. So they just go right here. They're bigger than the flower, so just so you know, they will peek out a little bit when you put them, you know, on your delicate flower here, but it's gonna be adhered behind that big center flower, so you don't really, bouquets, center flower bouquets, you won't really notice them. Okay, so let's put this down, and we're gonna keep this over here so they're peeking out just a little bit. And when we're certain, we're just gonna, well, I was not certain, I wanted to move it a little bit, but so once I'm satisfied where they are, I just press down and it's gonna stick behind this center bouquet. And now we take this little piece that was left that we cut off on the bottom, and I just gonna take a glue dot and push it on the top behind. So you can always cut these embellishments apart if they disappear behind, you know, the main subject anyway, and you can just squeeze them in here and there and change things up a little bit. So here we go. So we have the stamping behind the flower bouquet, and then we also cut the pink one apart. So I think that just looks nice. And now I gonna add some of those dimensionals on the back, and I try to overlap, so I not only stick them on the main center flower bouquet, but I try to incorporate and stick them over some of those delicate ones, so they not only be stuck to the main, but they also stay in place when we put this whole thing on the card front. And like I said, you can put these thin ones on the card base if you wanted to first, and just raise the centerpiece. That might make more sense for one or the other. Okay, and there you have it. So we have this little blue peeking out behind it. And now we need some twine. So you need 15 inches of this twine. And to make it easier when you follow the instructions, I just put a glue dot down, so I can actually, you know, lay my thread around and make a little loop, or you just create a real loop, whatever, you know, a little bow, whatever you like to do. And then I take a few dimensionals to we put a glue dot on here first so that stays together, but then I'm gonna put a couple dimensionals on the back of that little circle and adhere it to the card base. Now when you cut your thread, so if you look into the instruction sheet has a scale on the side, on the right side, but the top one, be careful, is centimeters, and then there's a 0 in the middle, and then the bottom one is in inches. So if you cut your string, make sure you have the right dimension that you're measuring, because I had mine in centimeters cut first, which was a little bit short, but yeah, there you go. So there's card number 3, and I just love the, you know, with a few elements, how pretty that card looks like. Oh, and yeah, I can't forget the bling. So let's put some bling on there, and we have a couple on the flowers here and behind, well, maybe over here. You can pick and choose where you want them. So each card gets like 3. So here we go, and that card is done. So now the only thing that's left, like I said, is I wanted to decorate the inside a little bit. And looking at this one, so I can take the flower, and then there's this "You're the Best." I think that will work perfectly as an inside phrase. And I mean, I have other phrases here in my stash, but I figured if you have this card set in front of you, that way you can use everything that comes with the kit and you don't need extra stamps. And if you happen to have the kit Expression of Kindness from last week, there was a little Blackberry Bliss stamp ink pad, or what they call Stampin' Spots in there, that you can use for the phrase, but you can also do just blue and blue. So do the flowers in blue, do the phrase in blue if you only have that one with this kit. If you're close to my heart customer before, you might have the eggplant color, which is very similar to the Blackberry Bliss. Otherwise, just use the blue. So I'm gonna stamp the phrase in the eggplant or the Blackberry Bliss. So this is this deep kind of aubergine color. and then I stamp the flowers in the blue. So let's get going here. And oh, before I do this, let's make sure it's working properly. Perfect. So let's get the flower first. Now, where do we put the flower? We can put the flowers here and then the phrase right there, or we can move it around sideways. I mean, actually the flower looks a little bit like a little tree, so I pretend it's a tree. So I will put mine up there and then put the phrase on the side. And I will start with the flowers, hence my tree, and put this down right here. And then I will grab my phrase, just leave it down a couple seconds, pull it straight back up. Excellent. And then we just put our little phrase in the different color or in blue, depending on what you choose. And there we go. That looks great. So one thing I do love to do besides stamping the inside is putting on a little doodle on the inside. So let's see the front of the card. So there's gold involved, and I do have a gold pen, but I know not everybody has them on hand. So let's just grab a black journaling pen. I'm sure everybody has a black journaling pen on hand. If not, just go ahead and use your pencil like we did in last week's cards. And I do a little bit faux stitching all the way around the card. So you can use a ruler if you want to. I just, do it freehand. And just do little dashes all the way around. Nothing big, nothing fancy. And then we see if we need anything else. But it's just to decorate the inside a tiny bit. You can leave it just plain white if you want to. When we do cards in class, we always like to decorate the inside. And believe it or not, the hardest part that everybody tells me on each of these cards is the doodles on the inside. I don't know why. The more you use them, the more you create or practice, the easier they will get. But for some reason, this is the hardest part of the class. Everyone says this, so it's always funny for me, but I'm like, it's just dashes. You can use a ruler if you need to, but all right. Okie doke, so we got done with this one, and now our little flower bouquet or trees kind of hang in the air here. So I'm just using my pencil and give them a little bit of ground to stand on. So just a few swoops, and there you have it. And we will do, or I will do the same with each of the other cards, so they all will get the same inside stamp. And there you have it. So 3 cards, 3 different designs. Super easy. You can make a total of 6 more with this kit, so you have a total of 9. And they're so pretty, and I think you can change them up a little bit if you want to. And yeah, let me know what you're thinking of these cards and of the whole set. And like I said, everything comes included. You don't really need anything beside maybe a black pen, a pencil, and some scissors if you want to go a little bit off the instruction sheet. But other than that, this is a great stamp set to use over and over again on other cards. So I think you will get a lot for out of this little box. So make sure to check out all the other ones that are online available. And I will link down below where you can find them. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give me a thumbs up if you did so, and if you haven't already done so, I really would love if you subscribe to my channel. And otherwise, I will see you back here next week with a new video. Bye bye.